CNN guru says Democrats have no light at the end of the tunnel. He's wrong, and here's why. Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press. So CNN political analyst Harry Enten earlier today, Monday, as I'm recording, he's of the mindset that Democrats are in a deep, dark state because who do the D's run in 2028? Mind you, we're not even a full week away from last week's presidential election. And you have to wonder how some guys get the job title political analyst with this stunning lack of insight from Enten. Here's a quote from Harry Enten on his appearance today on CNN. They have no heir apparent. The incumbent president is unpopular, and they hold no levels of power in Washington. Most likely come January. Then that's because it looks like the House will probably give a small majority back to the Republicans. So the no heir apparent thing is supposed to be a bad thing. But actually, it's just a natural part of the give and take when you lose a presidential election. Should there be an heir apparent when you lose a presidential election? Think back to 2004. Barack Obama wasn't an heir apparent after the 2004 cycle when Democrats lost their second presidential election in a row. I mean, that's fact. Obama was just winning his first statewide race in 2004. Donald Trump back in 2012 was still a TV game show host 4 years out from 2016. He was not an heir apparent. Bill Clinton was an Arkansas governor in 1988. There was no heir apparent there. Yeah, so Democrats have no obvious heir apparent 4 years out from 2028. Again, we're not even past a week past the election day, and yeah, Joe Biden is unpopular. Um, but Kamala Harris is on track to finish with 74 million votes when they're finally counted. California still has like 3 million to count. She'll get a couple million of those. She'll get around 48 or a little bit over 48% of the overall votes cast, running uphill into a headwind. I say that because the indications from the Joe Biden team back in July, we now know were that the reason he dropped out of the race on July 21st was because his internal poll numbers suggested he was going to lose and Trump was going to get a 400 plus electoral vote majority. He didn't drop out for the good of the country. He dropped out for the good of Joe Biden. Um, where the D's are now is not 1972 or 1984. This was not a close to 60-40 landslide. This was a 3-point loss, less than 3-point loss, and 226 electoral votes. That's far from being a landslide. I mean, let's look at these realities. Uh, Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes, went 30,000 votes to Trump. Nevada, 6 electoral votes, 45,000 votes to Trump. Michigan, 15 electoral votes, 80,000 votes to Trump. Georgia, 16 electoral votes, 117,000 votes to Trump. Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes, 145,000 votes to Trump. If you do the math on this, as few as 262,000 votes in the right states going the right way for Harris. And even losing the Electoral College, kind of like Donald Trump in 2016, it's less than two tenths of 1% of the overall 150 million votes cast, and she would have won the Electoral College. So we're not talking about a blowout. We're not talking about a landslide. We're talking about a narrow loss, running uphill into a headwind. Um, and that's what this Harry Enten fellow is characterizing as no light at the end of the tunnel. Now, him saying that shows that he's apparently unaware that the Senate's about to flip back to Democrats in 2 years. That's a reality. It's either going to be 52-48 or 53-47 Republicans when the Congress comes back for the new session in January. I say that because the Pennsylvania Senate race is still too close to call. It's not just me saying that, it's still too close to call. It looks like it'll probably go to the Republican Dave McCormick, but it's too close to call at this moment, and there's no rush to do that at this stage. But even a 53-47 six-seat majority, Republicans have to defend 20 of the 33 seats up in 2026. That's seven more, obviously, 20 minus 13. And Democrats would only need to gain four, have a net gain of four to flip the Senate back into their control. In reality is in a midterm year, they're going to flip at least four, probably five or six. Um, and then whatever the House ends up being, let's if it's 220 or 221 for Republicans, Democrats are only going to need to flip 4 or 5 seats to be able to get control of the House in 2026. Midterm trends suggest that they'll get 25, 30, 35 in that cycle. So Donald Trump's last 2 years are going to be against the Democratic Congress. Um, Last thing we need to worry about right now is how the 2028 is going to play out. It's still 2024. It's still November 11th as I'm talking here to you now, 2024. You don't worry about who the presidential candidate is going to be. You worry about getting your messaging right, reaching back out, trying to rebuild your coalition with white voters because you had working class black voters, you had working class Hispanic voters, you didn't have working class white voters. You need to get those folks back. That's been the winning coalition since 1932. And Donald Trump, some reason, was able to once again make inroads there. That's what you worry about. You don't worry about the light at the end of the tunnel, according to a CNN analyst that nobody's watching on TV. Nobody's watching CNN and MSNBC right now for obvious reasons. Uh, a lot of the folks who are watching me right now, you're catching up on Netflix, trying to not think about the election. But I'm here to tell you, let's just weather the storm and get to 2026, and then we can worry about 2028. Hey, Chris Graham here for Augusta Free Press. If you have anything for me, news tips, ideas, comments, anything else, feel free to email me at chris@augustafreepress.com.